Hi, I'm Kiki and I'm here with Anna, who is a human design expert. And this is something that I've only just recently gotten into, but I am absolutely obsessed. I just had my reading done like literally a few weeks ago, and I did a podcast with Courtney, who kind of gave a really high level introduction to human design. And so now I want to dive a little bit deeper with Anna on different human design authorities, because you mentioned that was one of the 3 keys to understanding human design.
Yes.
So would you mind talking a little bit about like sort of what an authority is, and then going through the different types?
Certainly, it would be my pleasure, Kiki. So hello, my name is Anna, and so in human design there's a perfect guidance system for how we are meant to make decisions. So if you think about when people are born, they don't make any decisions. The parents make all the decisions for them. They basically, if they're hungry, they cry. If they don't want to eat anymore, they throw up, and that's pretty much the extent of the decision making for them. Then we enter school age, and we have, structured regimen if we go to school, and then there's the media that sort of kind of tries to tell us what we should buy because this is sexier, you'll be happier if you own this, and yada yada yada. And then we have just society and all those years of conditioning on how to make decisions. A lot of the times we're being told to think it through, make a list of pros and cons and think out your decision logically. So human design actually teaches us that we each have our own unique way of making a decision, which is true for us and is right for us. And if we learn to listen to it and practice it, we'll learn to make proper decisions in our lives.
Amazing.
It is
like,
amazing.
How do we not know this?
It's so amazing. So the best thing is that and the hardest thing probably for people to understand is that the mind does not make the decisions for us. There is no authority in human design that allows the mind to take over.
Okay.
So we
like
as a culture, none of it.
Okay.
The mind is a fabulous, brilliant tool for processing data, for gathering inspiration and translating it into concepts and ideas, and then through the throat for knowledge. But in no way, shape, or form do we want to give our mind any energy and permission to make a decision for us.
Okay.
All right. So I just want everybody to understand that, and I know that's very contrary to what a lot of us are taught to do.
Yeah.
Which could be why some people get into like bad relationships or
bad decisions.
Bad career. Yeah, which could impact their lives for years to come. So I'm gonna go through. I think there's 6 authorities.
Okay.
Some have a few subcategories, but the main one is the emotions authority. So about 50% of the population has this, so it's a big one. So if anyone has seen their life chart, which is a little body graph of like a little person with some centers defined, circles and squares and diamond shapes. So if the one on the bottom right, it's called your emotions or your solar plexus center, if that one is colored in, it means it's defined. And if it's defined, it means that's your authority. So you have an emotional authority if that one is colored in. It doesn't matter what else is going on in the chart. And if someone has an emotional authority, it's very important for them to understand that throughout their lives, they're going to be constantly going up and down. Their emotions are going to be happy and then sad. They're going to be expecting something, being excited about something, and then dropped and disappointed. So there's a few different kinds of waves they can experience, but they will be experiencing ups and downs, highs and lows throughout their life. That's just going to happen. And another thing they need to realize is not to make any decisions when they're either feeling amazingly good about something, super excited about the possibilities of something, or if they're feeling like really low or depressed about something, because that's when a lot of the times they'll want to make a decision to kind of like get to some conclusion or
to kind of change the circumstances.
Exactly. But those decisions are made in haste and can be and often are wrong decisions. So for people with emotional authority, who are about 50% of the population, it's really important to wait. And I believe Courtney touched on this a little bit in your interview. To wait, sometimes it could be a few hours, sometimes at least 24 hours to sleep on it. Sometimes it's days or weeks. It depends on the decision. It depends. And what you're looking for is, if you think about it like a stormy sea, okay, so that's what some people's lives are. It's like the waves are constantly moving on the ocean, right? Well, the best advice for them is to step back and become an observer. And just not get so wrapped up in the feeling that they're experiencing, like just to understand that even if they're depressed 1 minute, eventually they're going to be happy. And if they're really excited, then it's not going to last forever either, right? So it's kind of like you wait until the sea is calm. You know those mornings when there's like you can see your reflection in the water, like it's so still.
Yeah.
So when they learn within themselves what that feels like, when everything's just level, that's when their clarity comes to them. Okay.
That's when they need to take advantage, make decisions.
Yes.
Got it.
And this is a practice. This is done over time. This is not something that, people usually pick up overnight.
Yeah.
But just having the awareness of what to do. So the next center we're going to talk about would be in the middle. There's going to be 2 squares. So the bottom square is the root. If you have the second from the bottom, it's called the sacral center. If you have that square colored in, but you do not have the emotions center colored in, so that one's not colored in, this one is colored in, then you are a sacral authority. And a sacral authority, they live from their gut.
Okay.
So it's a gut instinct.
So like follow your intuition kind of thing.
It is an intuition. It's a gut feeling. It's usually like an opening towards something.
Okay.
Like a yes or a no. Like it could be a physical opening and closing, or it could be a vocal. It could be like yeah, or
Yeah.
So one thing I tell people with the sacral authority is train people in your life to ask you yes and no questions, because your strategy, as you remember, is to respond.
Yeah.
So you can't respond to an open-ended question like, what do you want to eat for dinner tonight?
Yeah.
That's too open-ended.
Yeah.
So do you want to have spaghetti tonight? Then you can say yes, or you can tune in and it's a no. So anything that has a yes and no answer is a good thing for a sacral person to get used to.
Okay.
The next one over is the triangle opposite the emotions. So if you're looking at the chart, I know I'm kind of just trying to diagram it. So this one would be blank, this one would be blank, and by blank I just mean not defined, not colored in. Then you go over here, there's another triangle on this side, and if that one is colored in but these two are not, then you have a splenic authority, and the spleen is our center of well-being. And it's also instantaneous. We get messages like that about our environment, about what's healthy and what's not. So again, just like the authority works kind of similarly to the way the center works. So our messages are more intuition based on this one. So you've got the emotions based, the gut response, and the intuition based. And it's very quiet. It only kind of speaks once. It whispers, it tells you once, and if you ignore it, too bad.
Okay.
So this is like if you're in an environment and you walk into a restaurant, let's say, and you sit down and then you're like, you're looking around, you're like, something doesn't feel right. Listen to that. Get up and leave. You know what I mean? So again, just learn to train people in your life that you have to follow that instinct. And it doesn't always make sense. That's the thing, okay? The mind is always going to try and put its 2 cents in and tell us, well, you already, made reservations here and you have paid for parking and whatever.
You don't want to offend other people.
Exactly. But the more the people in your life understand that this is part of who you are, then it'll be very useful for everybody involved. Okay, so moving on. I know we're pressured for time here. So then we have the heart, which is the little triangle in the picture. It's around the left-hand side.
Okay.
And it's our heart. I think on the diagram it looks like it's on the right-hand side, but because it's like the diagram would be facing you, it would be that little tiny triangle in the corner. So that one is basically like you can kind of split it into 2. So if it's connected to the throat, which is a motor center, it's a manifested authority, which means that whatever you want must happen. So, and that also means that you are not defined in those 3 centers I spoke of earlier. Okay. So then you have definition from the little triangle to the square here, that's kind of in the throat center.
Okay.
Then they really have to follow their heart and their passions.
Okay.
And some powerful people in the world have that. I think Mick Jagger and a few others. Like, so if you think about, like, he's passionate about singing, look at the career he's built for himself. Then there's a second category of heart-centered where their heart is defined, but it's connected to the self, which is a little triangle right around here. So that's not a motor. So what happens with them, they're sort of like a projector design, which was spoken of in the other interview as well. So it's a little more subtle. And what they want to do is, in order to make a decision, is they want to talk things out and hear themselves speak. Okay, so again, it goes for both actually, the throat one as well. You want to speak and listen to your own words, because if your mind starts getting involved and thinking about what you want to say, that's the mind again, and you want to get rid of that. And if it comes out just naturally, what coming out of your mouth, that's where that is coming from. So another really subtle one is if just this triangle here or anything above it is defined, that's called the self-authority. And that's a really subtle, really quiet, it's almost like a butterfly wing. It's almost like a opening in the sternum. It's like a very, people who have it describe it as like, it's, I don't know, I just know. It's like a very quiet, very subtle knowing.
Yeah.
But mind you, people with the heart and the self-authority, they also have a lot of open centers here. So they don't have definition down here, which means they're open to a lot of conditioning from the outside world. So it's very easy for them to get override their own, what they think is their own authority. It can get overridden by everyone else who has, because the emotions, I'm also, the ones I'm telling you, I'm telling you them in order of strength. As well, okay? Of commonality and of strength. So the emotions is obviously the strongest, it's the most forceful, it's the most powerful, and the most common. So people with a really subtle one like the self one, they can very easily get, you know, talked out of it by someone else who has a stronger sacral energy or
just conditioned from the world, or maybe they read a book about how it's like they need to make decisions in that way, right?
Yes, absolutely. And then we have special people in the world. Kiki's one of them.
Duh.
Well, there's ones that have the throat up, so you could have the throat attached to the mind center, or you could have the mind attached to the crown center, or you could have none of the above. Okay, so let me just differentiate, because if you do have definition in these three centers, it's called environment authority or mental authority, but it doesn't mean that the mind makes the decision. What it means is the environment around you makes the decision. So again, you're always paying attention to your environment, and again, you're always speaking. If you have a dilemma, you need to make a decision, you talk about it to others, but you're not talking about it to get other people's advice. You're talking about it so that you can hear yourself speak. And when you hear yourself speak, you're giving yourself more of that embodied wisdom that will eventually come out in time. Okay? But then if you have nothing defined, if all your shapes are blank, you're a very special and rare type.
Technically me, right?
Yes, you're a reflector. So 1 to 2% of the population are reflectors. So with a reflector has no internal guidance system. So
and when I saw that, I'm like, oh, great, now I have no guidance. Like now I have nothing to lean on. So please tell me. I'm listening.
Well, so
what do I lean
you
on?
have to, you trust. You trust in your environment. Okay, so that's one thing. It's an outer authority. So you're a lunar being. Everybody else on the planet is a solar being. You, few, rare beings who are called reflectors, you reflect back to us everything. Okay, so the moon is the quickest moving body around the earth. It goes every 10 hours, I believe. It's in a new gate. So, you know, there's 64 gates that go around. And every 10 hours, the moon will move into a different one. So in about 28 and a half days, the moon will have gone through the whole cycle. So what that does is every time the moon transits through a gate, it gives you temporarily, it kind of fills it in for you. So these are called transits. So even though you have a very open design, you're always getting influenced by celestial bodies, for one, and by other people, for two. So when you're meeting me right now, I have a lot of centers defined. You're borrowing my energy, so to speak. Okay? But if you're by yourself out there, you're actually borrowing the moon's energy. So the moon is filling in your gates for you. And then so what happens for you if you have an important decision, like not what to have for dinner, but if you have an important decision like, do I move, do I quit a job, like something, do I marry somebody, whenever you have the opportunity to make that decision, I encourage you to get a calendar. 29 days from the day you get the I need to make a decision, mark it down, and 29 days from that, saying this is the day I need to at least look to see if I'm ready to make a decision. And then what you do is you start researching. You start talking about it to everybody, but again, not for necessarily they can be giving you their opinion, but it doesn't mean you take it. It just means you're getting all angles of a situation. You're digging deep. You're doing research. You're reading about it. And what you might find is most things will just fall away. Like they'll kind of solve themselves.
It's so true. They do. Oh my god. Everything you're saying, I'm like, oh my god, I have been doing that. And it's like good to know I've been doing the right thing.
Well, intuitively, I guess you've just figured it out.
And is there a certain time during like when the moon is in a certain like transit that like I should tap into that energy? Like, should I be making a decision on a full moon versus a new moon versus, you know, when it's waxing or waning or something like that?
That's a tricky question. I'm curious to know myself. You know, my teachers have never mentioned anything like that. But that's
it's more
really
so, I guess.
fascinating.
So the moon thing is more so the idea to wait the 29 days
Yes.
rather than, okay.
So patience is something
Okay.
that you need to learn. And even people in your life, like let's say you have a partner and you guys need to decide whether you want to buy a house. And
Yeah.
so you have to explain to people in your life that you need a lot more time making
Yeah.
decisions, and they have to respect that.
Yeah.
If they're the
And
right
I'll say it
people for you.
in that way rather than I need to wait a moon cycle, because then they'll just be like, Kiki. But if I just say, no, I need more time, that might be more acceptable.
Yeah.
And so then that's all of them, right?
Yeah, that's all the authorities.
Oh my goodness. Obviously I cared about the last one a little bit more, but
Of
that's
course,
oh my
understandably
god,
so.
so interesting. So thank you so
Yeah.
much. And
Yes.
I'm so eager to learn more and more, and I'm sure everyone watching is as well. So would you mind sharing, I guess, your website, and then because people can actually book a session with you, right? And get
Yes.
all of this juiciness just on them.
I do readings, yes.
Amazing.
Yeah, it is. And I love the watching people's faces when I'm reading to them. A lot of them are just like, you can see the clicks, and they're like, oh, the aha
Yeah.
moments going on. And
Mhm.
and some people are so conditioned and out of tune with who they really are that they're like,
Yeah.
that doesn't sound like me. But I'm like,
Oh, that's so sad.
practice the keys we're giving you.
Mhm.
The authority, practice the profile, practice your energy,
Mhm.
everything that you've heard so far.
Mhm.
The more you work with it, the more you start to discover
And
who
it's
you really
gonna
are.
feel easy probably
it's so
once they start
fulfilling.
practicing
Yeah.
the right way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I'd love to share. So
Mhm.
you can reach me at my website, which is annarona.com. So I'll spell that. So it's www.annawrona.com. And there you'll find contact information and pricing and things like that. So I have a special on right now, just to say.
Amazing. And
Yeah.
you're in Toronto, but do you do Skype sessions as well?
Yes, absolutely. I do phone sessions,
Perfect.
Skype sessions, in-person sessions.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Thank you, Anna.
My pleasure.